Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today, we are going to read from the poetry of Christina Rossetti and John Milton. Christina Rossetti was born in London in 1830 and died in 1894. She was the sister to the artist and poet Dante Gabriel Rossetti. Goblin Market and Other Poems, 1862, was her first book and received much praise. She has been called the successor to Elizabeth Barrett Browning. The main themes in her hymns, sonnets, narratives are love, loss, death, and religious devotion. She also wrote children's poetry. John Milton, 1608-1674, is one of the greatest poets in the tradition of English poetry. His Lycidas is one of the best elegies ever written. Lycidas, according to a footnote, quote, was first published in 1638 in a volume of memorial verses on Edward King, a college mate of Milton who drowned off the coast of Wales. The magnificent readers in order of appearance are K. Weissman, Toni Sawyer, Corinne Conley, Helen Richman, Guerin Barry. Here's K. Weissman.
I loved you first, but afterwards your love. I loved you first, but afterwards your love, outsoaring mine, sang such a loftier song as drowned the friendly cooings of my dove. Which owes the other most? My love was long, and yours one moment seemed to wax more strong. I loved and guessed at you. You construed me and loved me for what might or might not be. Nay, weights and measures do us both a wrong, for verily love knows not mine or thine, with separate I and thou. Free love has done, for one is both, and both are one in love. Rich love knows not of thine that is not mine. Both have the strength and both the length thereof. Both of us of the love which makes us one. Many in after times will say of you, many in after times will say of you, he loved her. While of me, what will they say? Not that I loved you more than just in play for fashion's sake, as idle women do. Even let them prate, who know not what we knew of love and parting in exceeding pain, of parting hopeless here to meet again, hopeless on earth and heaven, is out of view, but by my heart of love laid bare to you, my love that you can make not void or vain, love that forgoes you but to claim anew, beyond this passage of the gate of death, I charge you with a judgment, make it plain. My love of you was life and not breath. Remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turned to go, yet turning stay. Remember me when no more day by day you tell me of our future that you planned. Only remember me. You understand it will be late to counsel then or pray. Yet if you should forget me for a while and afterwards remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that once I had, better by far you should forget and smile than that you should remember and be sad. From an artist studio. One face looks out from all his canvases. One self-same figure sits or walks or leans. We found her hidden just behind those screens. That mirror gave back all her loveliness. A queen in opal or in ruby dress. A nameless girl in freshest summer greens. A saint, an angel. Every canvas means the same one meaning, neither more or less. He feeds upon her face by day and night, and she with true kind eyes looks back on him, fair as the moon and joyful as the night, not wan with waiting, not with sorrow dim, not as she is, but was when hope shone bright. Now as she is, but as she fills his dream. When I am dead, my dearest. When I am dead, my dearest, sing no sad songs for me. Plant thou no roses at my head, nor shady cypress tree. Be the green grass above me with showers and dewdrops wet. And if thou wilt, remember. And if thou wilt, forget. I shall not see the shadows. I shall not feel the rain. I shall not hear the nightingale sing on as if in pain. And dreaming through the twilight that doth not rise nor set, haply I may remember, and haply I may forget. Crying, my little one, footsore and weary. Crying, my little one, footsore and weary. Fall asleep, pretty one, warm on my shoulder. I must tramp on through the winter night dreary, while the snow falls on me colder and colder. You are my one, and I have not another. Sleep soft, my darling, my trouble and treasure. Sleep warm and soft in the arms of your mother, dreaming of pretty things, dreaming of pleasure. A daughter of Eve. A fool I was to sleep at noon and wake when night is chilly beneath the comfortless cold moon. A fool to pluck my rose too soon. A fool to snap my lily. My garden plot I have not kept, faded and all forsaken. I weep as I have never wept. Oh, it was summer when I slept. It's winter now I waken. Talk what you please of future spring and some warm, sweet tomorrow, stripped bare of hope and everything. No more to laugh, no more to sing. I sit alone with sorrow.
Who has seen the wind? Who has seen the wind? Neither I nor you, but when the leaves hang trembling, the wind is passing through. Who has seen the wind? Neither you nor I, but when the trees bow down their heads, the wind is passing by. Color. What is pink? A rose is pink by a fountain's brink. What is red? A poppy's red in its barley bed. What is blue? The sky is blue, where the clouds float through. What is white? A swan is white, sailing in the light. What is yellow? Pears are yellow, ripe and rich and mellow. What is green? The grass is green, with small flowers between. What is violet? Clouds are violet in the summer twilight. What is orange? Why, an orange, just an orange. A birthday. My heart is like a singing bird whose nest is in a watered shoot. My heart is like an apple tree whose boughs are bent with thickest fruit. My heart is like a rainbow shell that paddles in a halcyon sea. My heart is gladder than all these because my love is come to me. Raise me a dais of silk and down, hang it with vair and purple dyes, carve it in doves and pomegranates and peacocks with 100 eyes. Work it in gold and silver grapes, in leaves and silver fleur-de-lis, because the birthday of my life is come. My love has come to me. Dreamland, where sunless rivers weep their waves into the deep, she sleeps a charmed sleep. Awake her not. Led by a single star, she came from very far to seek where shadows are her pleasant lot. She left the rosy bourne, she left the fields of corn, for twilight cold and lorn, and water springs. Through sleep, as though through a veil, she sees the sky look pale, and hears the nightingale that sadly sings. Rest, rest, a perfect rest, shed over brow and breast. Her face is toward the west, the purple land. She cannot see the grain ripening on hill and plain. She cannot feel the rain upon her hand. Rest, rest, forevermore upon a mossy shore. Rest, rest at the heart's core till time shall cease. Sleep that no pain shall wake, night that no morn shall break, till joy shall overtake her perfect peace. Winter, my secret. I tell my secret? No, indeed, not I. Perhaps someday, who knows? But not today. It froze and blows and snows, and you're too curious. Fie. You want to hear it? Well, only my secret's mine. I won't tell. Or, after all, perhaps there's none. Suppose there is no secret after all, but only just my fun. Today's a nipping day, a biting day, in which one wants a shawl, a veil, a cloak, and other wraps. I cannot ope to everyone who taps, and let the draughts come whistling through my hall, come bounding and surrounding me, come buffeting, astounding me, nipping and clipping through my wraps and all. I wear my mask for warmth. Whoever shows his nose to Russian snows, to be pecked at by every wind that blows. You would not peck? I thank you for your goodwill. Believe me, but leave the truth untested still. Spring's an expansive time, yet I don't trust March with its peck of dust, nor April with its rainbow-crowned brief showers, nor even May, whose flowers one frost may wither through the sunless hours. Perhaps some languid day, when drowsy birds sing less and less, and golden fruit is ripening in excess, if there's not too much sun nor too much cloud, and the warm wind is neither still nor loud, perhaps my secret I may say, or you may guess. Passing away, saith the world. Passing away, saith the world, passing away. Chances, beauty, and youth, sapped day by day. Thy life never continueth in one stay. Is the eye waxen dim? Is the dark hair changing to gray that hath won neither laurel nor bay? I shall clothe myself in spring and bud in May. Thou, root-stricken, shall not rebuild thy decay on my bosom for aye. Then I answer, yea. Passing away, saith my soul, passing away, with its burden of fear and hope, of labor and play. Hearken, what the past doth witness and say. Rust in thy gold, a moth is in thy array. A caker is in thy bud, thy leaf must decay. At midnight, a cockcrow, at morning, one certain day, lo, the bridegroom shall come and shall not delay. Watch thou and pray. Then I answered, yea. Passing away, saith my God, passing away. Winter passeth after the long delay. New grapes on the vine, new figs on the tender spray. Turtle calleth turtle in heaven's May. Though I tarry, wait for me, trust me, watch and pray. Arise, come away, night is past, and lo, it is day. My love, my sister, my spouse, thou shalt hear me say. Then I answered, yea. Uphill. Does the road wind uphill all the way? Yes, to the very end. Will a day's journey take the whole long day? From morn to night, my friend. Is there for the night a resting place? A roof for when the slow, dark hours begin? May not the darkness hide it from my face? You cannot miss that inn. Shall I meet other wayfarers at night? Those who have gone before. Then must I knock or call when just in sight? They will not keep you standing at the door. Shall I find comfort, travel sore and weak? Of labor you shall find the sum. If there are beds for me and all who seek, yea, beds for all who come.
Goblin Market. Morning and evening, maids heard the goblins cry. Come buy our orchard fruits, come buy, come buy. Apples and quinces, lemons and oranges, plump unpicked cherries, melons and raspberries, bloom down cheeked peaches, swat-headed mulberries, wild free-born cranberries, crab apples, dewberries, pineapples, blackberries, apricots, strawberries, all ripe together in summer weather. Morns that pass by, fair eves that fly, come by, Come buy our grapes, fresh from the vine, pomegranates full and fine, dates and sharp bullaces, rare pears and greengages, damsons and bilberries. Taste them and try. Currants and gooseberries, bright fire-like barberries, figs to fill your mouth, citrons from the south, sweet to tongue and sound to eye. Come buy, come buy. Evening by evening, among the brookside rushes, Laura bowed her head to hear. Lizzie veiled her blushes, crouching close together in the cooling weather, with clasping arms and cautioning lips, with tingling cheeks and fingertips. Lie close, Laura said, pricking up her golden head. We must not look at goblin men. We must not buy their fruits. Who knows upon what soil they fed their hungry, thirsty roots? Come by, called the goblins, hobbling down the glen. Oh, cried Lizzie, Laura, Laura, you should not peep at golden men. Lizzie covered up her eyes, covered close, lest they should look. Laura reared her glossy head and whispered like the restless brook. Look, Lizzie, down the glen tramp little men. One hauls a basket, one bears a plate, one lugs a golden dish of many pounds weight. How fair the vine must grow, whose grapes are so luscious. How warm the wind must blow through those fruit bushes. No, said Lily. No, their offers should not charm us. Their evil gifts will harm us. She thrust a dimpled finger in each ear, shut eyes, and ran. Curious Laura chose to linger, wondering at each merchant man. One had a cat's face, one whisked a tail, one tramped at a rat's pace, one crawled like a snail. One, like a wombat, prowled obtuse and furry. One, like a rattle, tumbled hurry-scurry. She heard a voice like the voice of doves, cooing all together. They sounded kind and full of loves in the pleasant weather. Laura stretched her gleaming neck like a rush-embedded swan, like a lily from the beck, like a moonlit poplar branch, like a vessel at the launch when its last restraint is gone. Backwards up the mossy glen turned and trooped the goblin men with their shrill, repeated cry, "Come buy! Come buy!" When they reached where Laura was, they stood stock still upon the moss, leering at each other, brother with queer brother, signaling each other, brother with sly brother. One set his basket down, one reared his plate, one began to weave a crown of tendrils, leaves, and rough nuts brown. Men sell not such in any town. One heaved the golden weight of dish and fruit to offer her. Come buy, was still their cry. Laura stared, but did not stir, longed, but had no money. The whisk-tailed merchant bade her taste, in tones as smooth as honey. The cat-faced purred, the rat-paced spoke a word of welcome, and the snail-paced even was heard. One parrot-voiced and jolly cried, "Pretty goblin," still for "Pretty Polly." One whistled like a bird. But sweet-toothed Laura spoke in haste, "Good folk, I have no coin To take were to purloin. I have no copper in my purse. I have no silver either, and all my gold is on the furze that shakes in windy weather above the rusty heather. You have much gold upon your head, they answered all together. Buy from us with a golden curl. She clipped a precious golden lock. She dropped a tear more rare than pearl, then sucked their fruit globes, fair or red, sweeter than honey from the rock, stronger than man-rejoicing wine. Clearer than water flowed that juice. She never tasted such before. How should it cloy with length of use? She sucked and sucked and sucked the more fruits which that unknown orchard bore. She sucked until her lips were sore, then flung the emptied rinds away, but gathered up one kernel stone, and knew not was it night or day, as she turned home alone. Lizzie met her at the gate, full of wise upbraidings. Dear, you should not stay so late. Twilight is not good for maidens, should not loiter in the glen in the haunts of goblin men. Do you not remember Jeannie, how she met them in the moonlight, took their gifts, both choice and many, ate their fruits, and wore their flowers, plucked from bowers where summer ripens at all hours? But ever in the moonlight she pined and pined away, sought them by night and day, found them no more, but dwindled and grew gray, then fell with the first snow, while to this day no grass will grow where she lies low. I planted daisies there a year ago that never blow. You should not loiter so. Nay, hush, said Laura. Nay, hush, my sister. I ate and ate my fill, yet my mouth waters still. Tomorrow night I will buy more, and kissed her. Have done with sorrow. I'll bring you plums tomorrow, fresh on their mother twigs, cherries worth getting. You cannot think what figs my teeth have met in, what melons icy cold, piled on a dish of gold, too huge for me to hold. What peaches with a velvet nap, pellucid grapes without one seed, odorous indeed must be the mead whereon they grow, and pure the wave they drink with lilies at the brink, and sugar sweet their sap. Golden head by golden head, like two pigeons in one nest, folded in each other's wings, they lay down in their curtained bed. Like two blossoms on one stem, like two flakes of new fallen snow, like two wands of ivory tipped with gold for awful kings. Moon and stars gazed in at them. Wings sang to them lullaby. Lumbering owls forbore to fly. Not a bat flapped to and fro. Round their rest, cheek to cheek and breast to breast, locked together in one nest. Early in the morning, when the first cock crowed his warning, neat like bees, as sweet and busy, Laura rose with Lizzie, fetched in honey, milked the cows, aired and set to rights the house, kneaded cakes of whitest wheat, cakes for dainty mouths to eat. Next churned butter, whipped up cream, fed their poultry, sat and sewed, talked as modest maidens should. Lizzie with an open heart, Laura in an absent dream. One content, one sick in part, one warbling for the mere bright day's delight, one longing for the night At length, slow evening came. They went with pitchers to the reedy brook. Lizzie most placid in her look, Laura most like a leaping frame. They drew the gurgling water from its deep. Lizzie plucked purple and rich golden flags, then turning homeward said, "The sunset flushes those furthest, loftiest crags. Come, Laura, not another maiden lags, no wilful squirrel wags. The beasts and birds are fast asleep." But Laura loitered still among the rushes, and said the bank was steep, and said the hour was early still, the dew not fallen, the wind not chill, listening ever but not catching the customary cry, "Come by, come by," with its iterated jingle of sugar-baited words, not for all her watching, once discerning even one goblin, racing, whisking, tumbling, hobbling, let alone the herds that used to tramp along the glen in groups or single of brisk fruit merchant men. Till Lizzie urged, "Oh, Laura, come, I hear the fruit call, but I dare not look. You should not loiter longer at this brook. Come with me home. The stars rise, the moon bends her arc, each glowworm winks her spark. Let us get home before the night grows dark, for clouds may gather, though this is summer weather, put out the lights and drench us through. Then if we lost our way, what should we do?" Laura turned as cold as stone to find her sister heard that cry alone, that goblin cry, "Come buy our fruits, come buy." Must she then buy no more such dainty fruit? Must she no more such succous pasture find? Gone deaf and blind? Her tree of life drooped from the root. She said not one word in her heart's sore ache, but peering through the dimness, naught discerning, trudged home, her pitcher dripping all the way. So crept to bed and lay silent till Lizzie slept, then sat up in a passionate yearning and gnashed her teeth for balked desire and wept as if her heart would break. Day after day, night after night, Laura kept watch in vain, in sullen silence of exceeding pain. She never caught again the goblin cry, "Come buy, come buy." She never spied the goblin men hawking their fruits along the glen. But when the noon waxed bright, her hair grew thin and gray. She dwindled as the fair full moon doth turn to swift decay and burn her fire away. One day, remembering her kernel stone, she set it by a wall that faced the south, dewed it with tears, hoped for a root, watched for a waxing shoot, but there came none. It never saw the sun, it never felt the trickling moisture run, while with sunk eyes and faded mouth she dreamed of melons, as a traveler sees false waves in desert drought, with shade of leaf-crowned trees, and burns the thirstier in the sandful breeze. She no more swept the house, tended the fowls or cows, fetched honey, kneaded cakes of wheat, brought water from the brook, but sat down listless in the chimney nook and would not eat.
Lizzie could not bear to watch her sister's cankerous care, yet not to share. She night and morning caught the goblin's cry, "Come buy our orchard fruits, come buy, come buy." Beside the brook, along the glen, she heard the tramp of goblin men. The voice and stir poor Laura could not hear, longed to buy fruit to comfort her, but feared to pay too dear. She thought of Jeannie in her grave, who should have been a bride, but who for joys brides hope to have, fell sick and died in her gay prime, in earliest winter time, with the first glazing rime, with the first snowfall of crisp winter time, till Laura, dwindling, seemed knocking at death's door. Then Lizzie weighed no more, better and worse. She put a silver penny in her purse, kissed Laura, crossed the heath with clumps of firs at twilight, halted by the brook, and for the first time in her life began to listen and look. Laughed every goblin when they spied her peeping, came towards her hobbling, flying, running, leaping, puffing and blowing, chuckling, clapping, crowing, chuckling and gobbling, mopping and mowing, full of airs and graces, pulling wry faces, demure grimaces, cat-like and rat-like, rattle and wombat-like, snail-paced in a hurry, parrot-voiced and whistler, helter-skelter, hurry-scurry, chattering like magpies, fluttering like pigeons, gliding like fishes, hugged her and kissed her, squeezed and caressed her, stretched up their dishes, panniers and plates. Look at our apples, russet and done, bob at our cherries, bite at our peaches, citrons and dates, grapes for the asking, pears red with basking out in the sun, plums on their twigs, pluck them and suck them, pomegranates, figs. Good folk, said Lizzie, mindful of Jeannie, give me much and many, held out her apron, tossed them her penny. Nay, take a seat with us, honor and eat with us, they answered grinning. Our feast is but beginning. Night yet is early, warm and dew pearly, wakeful and starry, such fruits as these no man can carry. Half their bloom would fly, half their dew would dry, half their flavor would pass by. Sit down and feast with us, but be welcome guest with us. Cheer you and rest with us. Thank you, said Lizzie, but one waits at home alone for me. So without further parleying, if you will not sell me any of your fruits, though much and many, give me back my silver penny I tossed you for a fee. They began to scratch their pates, no longer wagging, purring, but visibly demurring, grunting and snarling. One called her proud, cross-grained, uncivil. Their tones waxed loud, their looks were evil. Lashing their tails, they trod and hustled her, elbowed and jostled her, clawed with their nails, barking, mewing, hissing, mocking, tore her gown and soiled her stocking, twitched her hair out by the roots, stamped upon her tender feet, held her hands and squeezed their fruits against her mouth to make her eat. White and golden Lizzie stood like a lily in a flood, like a rock of blue-veined stone lashed by tides obstreperously, like a beacon left alone in a hoary roaring sea, sending up a golden fire, like a fruit-crowned orange tree, white with blossoms, honey sweet, sore beset by wasp and bee, like a royal virgin town topped with gilded dome and spire, close beleaguered by a fleet mad to tug her standard down. One may lead a horse to water, 20 cannot make him drink. Though the goblins cuffed and caught her, coaxed and fought her, bullied and besought her, scratched her, pinched her black as ink, kicked and knocked her, mauled and mocked her, Lizzie uttered not a word, would not open lip from lip, lest they should cram a mouthful in, but laugh in heart to feel the drip of juice that syruped all her face and lodged in dimples of her chin and streaked her neck, which quaked like curd. At last the evil people, worn out by her resistance, flung back her penny, kicked their fruit along whichever road they took, not leaving root or stone or shoot. Some writhed into the ground, some dived into the brook with ring and ripple, some scudded on the gale without a sound, some vanished in the distance. In a smart ache tingle, Lizzie went her way, knew not was it night or day, sprang up the bank, tore through the furze, threaded copse and dingle, and heard her penny jingle, bouncing in her purse. Its bounce was music to her ear. She ran and ran, as if she feared some goblin man dogged her with jibe or curse, or something worse. But not one goblin scurried after, nor was she pricked by fear. The kind heart made her windy paced, that urged her home quite out of breath with haste and inward laughter. She cried, "Laura," up the garden, "did you miss me? Never mind my bruises. Hug me, kiss me, suck my juices, squeezed from goblin fruits for you. Goblin pulp and goblin dew. Eat me, drink me, love me, Laura, make much of me. For your sake I have braved the glen and had to do with goblin merchantmen." Laura started from her chair, flung her arms up in the air, clutched her hair. "Lizzie, Lizzie, have you tasted for my sake the fruit forbidden? Must your light like mine be hidden? Your young life like mine be wasted, undone in mine undoing, and ruined in my ruin? Thirsty, cankered, goblin-ridden?" She clung about her sister, kissed and kissed and kissed her. Tears once again refreshed her shrunken eyes, dropping like rain after long sultry drought. Shaking with anguish, fear, and pain, she kissed and kissed her with a hungry mouth. Her lips began to scorch. That juice was wormwood to her tongue. She loathed the feast. Writhing as one possessed, she leaped and sung, rent all her robe, and wrung her hands in lamentable haste, and beat her breast. Her locks streamed like the torch borne by a racer at full speed, or like the mane of horses in their flight, or like an eagle when she stems the light straight toward the sun, or like a caged thing freed, or like a flying flag when armies run. Swift fire spread through her veins, knocked at her heart, met the fire smoldering there, and overbore its lesser flame. She gorged on bitterness without a name. Ah, fool, to choose such part, oh, soul-consuming care. Sense failed in the mortal strife, like the watchtower of a town which an earthquake shatters down. Like a lightning-stricken mast, like a wind-uprooted tree spun about, like a foam-topped waterspout cast down headed into the sea, she fell at last. Pleasure past and anguish past. Is it death or is it life? Life out of death. That night, long Lizzie watched by her, counted her pulses' flagging stir, felt for her breath, held water to her lips, and cooled her face with tears and fanning leaves. But when the first birds chirped about their eaves, and early reapers plodded to the place of golden sheaves, and dew-wet grass bowed in the morning breeze, so brisk to pass, and new buds with new day opened of cup-like lilies on the stream, Laura awoke as from a dream, laughed in the innocent old way, hugged Lily, but not twice or thrice. Her gleaming locks showed not one thread of gray. Her breath was sweet as May, and light danced in her eyes. Days, weeks, months, years afterwards, when both were wives, with children of their own, their mother hearts beset with fears, their lives bound up in tender lives, Laura would call the little ones and tell them of her early prime, those pleasant days long gone of not returning time, would talk about the haunted glen, the wicked, quaint fruit merchant men, their fruits like honey to the throat, but poison in the blood. Men sell not such in any town. Would tell them how her sister stood in deadly peril to do her good and win the fiery antidote. Men joining hands to little hands would bid them cling together, for there is no friend like a sister in calm or stormy weather, to cheer one on the tedious way, to fetch one if one goes astray, to lift one if one totters down, to strengthen whilst one stands.
Lycidas by John Milton. Yet once more, O ye laurels, and once more, ye myrtles brown, with ivy never sere, I come to pluck your berries harsh and crude, and with forced fingers rude shatter your leaves before the mellowing year. Bitter constraint and sad occasion dear compels me to disturb your season due. For Lycidas is dead ere his prime, young Lycidas, and hath not left his peer. Who would not sing for Lycidas? He knew himself to sing and build the lofty rhyme. He must not float upon his watery bier unwept, and welter to the parching wind without the meed of some melodious tear. Begin then, sisters of the sacred well that from beneath the seat of Jove doth spring. Begin, and somewhat loudly sweep the string, hence with denial vain and coy excuse. So may some gentle muse with lucky words favor my destined urn. And as he passes, turn and bid fair peace to my sable shroud. For we were nursed upon the selfsame hill, fed the same flock by fountain, shade, and rill, together both, ere the high lawns appeared under the opening eyelids of the morn. We drove afield, and both together heard what time the gray fly winds her sultry horn, fattening our flocks with the fresh dews of night, oft till the star that rose at evening bright toward heaven's descent had sloped his westering wheel. Meanwhile, the rural ditties were not mute. Tempered to the oaten flute, rough satyrs danced, and fawns with cloven heel from glad sound would not be absent long. And old Amaitus loved to hear our song. But oh, a heavy change now thou art gone. Now thou art gone, and never must return. Thee, shepherd, thee the woods and desert caves with wild thyme and the gadding vine o'ergrown, and all their echoes mourn. The willows and the hazel copses green shall now no more be seen fanning their joyous leaves to thy soft lays. As killing as the canker to the rose, or taintworm to the weanling herds that graze, or frost to flowers that their gay wardrobe wear when first the white thorn blows. Such, Lycidas, thy loss to shepherd's ear. Where were ye, nymphs, when the remorseless deep closed o'er the head of your loved Lycidas? For neither were ye playing on the steep where your old bards, the famous druids, lie, nor on the shaggy top of Mona High, nor yet where Deva spreads her wizard stream. Ay me, I fondly dream. Had ye been there, for what could that have done? What could the muse herself that Orpheus bore, the muse herself for her enchanting son, for whom universal nature did lament, when by the rout that made the hideous roar, his gory visage down the stream was sent, down the swift Hebrus to the Lesbian shore? Alas, what boots it with incessant care to tend the homely, slighted shepherd's trade, and strictly meditate the thankless muse? Were it not better done, as others use, to sport with Amaryllis in the shade, or with the tangles of Neaera's hair? Fame is the spur that the clear spirit doth raise, that last infirmity of noble mind, to scorn delights and live laborious days. But the fair guerdon when we hope to find and think to burst out into sudden blaze, comes the blind fury with the bored shears and slits the thin-spun life. But not the praise, Phoebus replied, and touched my trembling ears. Fame is no plant that grows on mortal soil, nor in the glistening foil set off to the world, nor in broad rumor lies, but lives and spreads aloft by those pure eyes and perfect witness of all judging Jove, as he pronounces lastly on each deed, of so much fame in heaven, expect thy meed. O fountain Arethusa, and thou honored flood, smooth sliding Minicus crowned with vocal reeds, that strain I heard was of a higher mood, but now my oat proceeds, and listens to the herald of the sea that came in Neptune's plea. He asked the waves, and asked the felon winds, what hard mishap hath doomed this gentle swain? And questioned every gust of rugged wings that blows from off each beaked promontory. They knew not of his story. And sage Hippotatus their answer brings, that not a blast was from his dungeon strayed. The air was calm, and on the level brine sleek Panope with all her sisters played. It was that fatal and perfidious bark, built into clips and rigged with curses dark, that sung so low that sacred head of thine. Next, Camus, reverend sire, went footing slow, his mantle hairy and his bonnet sedge inwrought with figures dim, and on the edge, like to that sanguine flower, inscribed with woe. Ah, who hath reft, quoth he, my dearest pledge? Last came and last did go, the pilot of the Galilean lake. 2 massy keys he bore of metals twain, the golden opes, the iron shuts amain. He shook his mitred locks and stern bespake, how well could I have spared for thee, young swain? In know of such as for their belly's sake creep and intrude and climb into the fold? Of other care they little reckoning make than how to scramble at the shearer's feast and shove away the worthy bidden guest. Blind mouths that scarce themselves know how to hold a sheep hook, or have learned aught else the least that to the faithful herdman's art belong. What recks it them? What need they? They're sped. And when they list their lean and flashy songs, grate on their scrannel pipes of wretched straw, the hungry sheep look up and are not fed, but swollen with wind and the rank mist they draw, rot inwardly and foul contagion spread. Besides what the grim wolf with privy paw daily devours apace, and nothing said, but that 2-handed engine at the door stands ready to smite once and smite no more. Return, Alpheus, the dread voice is past that shrunk thy streams. Return, Sicilian muse, and call the vales, and bid them hither cast their bells and flowerets of 1,000 hues. Ye valleys low, where the mild whispers use of shades and wanton winds, and gushing brooks on whose fresh lap the swart star sparely looks, throw hither all your quaint enameled eyes, that on the green turf suck the honeyed showers and purple all the ground with vernal flowers. Bring the wraith primrose that forsaken dies, the tufted croto and the pale jessamine, the white pink and the pansy freaked with jet, the glowing violet, the musk rose and the well-attired woodbine with cowslips wan that hang the pensive head, and every flower that sad embroidery wears. Bid amaranthus all his beauty shed, and daffodillies fill their cups with tears, to strew the laureate hearse where Lycid lies, for so to interpose a little ease. Let our frail thoughts dally with false surmise. Ay me, whilst thee the shores and sounding seas wash far away, where'er thy bones are hurled, whether beyond the stormy Hebrides, where thou perhaps under the whelming tide visits the bottom of the monstrous world, or whether thou, to our moist vows denied, sleepst by the fable of Belarus old, where the great vision of the guarded mount looks toward Namancos and Bayona's hold. Look homeward, angel, now, and melt with ruth. And O ye dolphins, waft the hapless youth. Weep no more, woeful shepherds, weep no more, for Lycidas, your sorrow, is not dead. Sunk though he be beneath the watery floor, so sinks the day star in the ocean bed, and yet anon repairs his drooping head, and tricks his beams, and with new-spangled ore flames in the forehead of the morning sky. So Lycidas sank low, but mounted high, through the dear might of him that walked the waves. Where other groves and other streams, along with nectar pure his oozy locks he laves. And here's the unexpressive nuptial song. In the blessed kingdoms, meek of joy and love, there entertain him all the saints above. In solemn troops and sweet societies that sing, and singing in their glory move, and wipe the tears forever from his eyes. Now, Lycidas, the shepherds weep no more. Henceforth thou art the genius of the shore, in large recompense, and shalt be good to all that wander in that perilous flood. Thus sang the uncouth swain to the oaks and rills. While the still morn went out with sandals gray, he touched the tender stops of various quills, with eager thought warbling his Doric lay. And now the sun had stretched out all the hills, and now was dropped into the western bay. At last he rose and twitched his mantle blue. Tomorrow to fresh woods and pastures new.
Thank you, Guerin, Kay, Helen, Toni, Corinne. Thank you all for such a magnificent reading. I love that last line of Lycidas, tomorrow to fresh woods and pastures new. I mean, that's emblematic of us too. You know, we all keep moving into the newness and pastures new. As he said, we have a few more minutes. Jennifer's let us go over a little bit. So why don't we each take a couple of minutes and talk about this, the love, the death, the elegy that Guerin just read, the musicality of the poetry, whatever you would like to talk about in terms of this reading. So let's start with the beginning and start with Kay, and then Corinne, Helen, Toni, and then Guerin.
Well, I got to read all of those beautiful love poems, and I was so taken with them and cried each time I read them at home and loved them and thought that she must have had these tremendous love affairs And she didn't really. She had the love of God, from what I have read about her. But I was stunned by the poetry, by the how beautiful it was, until I heard about the goblins. And I can't wait to hear what everybody has to say about what they read. I mean, it was quite a contrast, and I'm just delighted with her work.
Well, Kay, she was offered 3 times to get married, and she turned them all down. She was an independent woman, as some of you may know. And let's hear what Corinne talks about that fantasy, the goblins.
Certainly, I mean, it was such fun reading about the goblins, but I noticed in all the poetry so much energy. Her, even in the sad moments or anything, she just seemed to be filled with energy, and more than any poet that I remember reading here, her poetry seems so lively, and I don't like to say loud, but it's like she's calling out. But maybe I was just so affected by the goblins that's the way all the poetry affected me.
Helen?
I read that this was the first kind of using characters that one might use for children's poems, and it led Christina Rossetti to begin writing children's poems. And in the Goblin Market, I feel that she is using the Laura and Lizzie story as and to portray the women's reaction to the male-dominated literary market of the Victorian period.
Toni?
I also echo that. I felt there's a bit of women's liberation in there. Also, she was deeply devoted to her religion. Also, in Helen's piece, I'm wondering if you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Was that lifted from that poem, or did she copy it from somebody else?
Yeah.
That's an old saying. We've all heard that many times. So
yeah, she just used that saying. It wasn't her original saying. She just used it.
I would imagine so.
I'm just curious.
Oh, go ahead, Toni. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I'm just curious whether that's just a common phrase, or did she initiate it?
Your guess is as good as mine.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And here's Guerin to talk a little bit, if he likes, about Lycidas.
Well, certainly I've had friends pass, and it spoke to me very much about my feelings when they did.
His mother had died that same year, 1637, I believe it was. And it's also a prophecy about what will come next for him. It's also kind of like a self-elegy, writing about what may come of his future life as a poet. And later on, he would write Paradise Lost, one of the great epics. But you all did, you talk about the energy Corinne did. And I think that also comes from the cadences and the metrics that she was using and the rhyme scheme, which helps, to move the poem along. And it's always comfortable to read. I don't know if this was iambic, some of it was iambic pentameter, and Milton, I believe, was blank verse. But thank you all. You did such a marvelous job, and it's always wonderful to hear you get into the poems, and really you just, on a dramatic level, just really entice us and enrapture us. So thank you all once again for your fabulous readings. And here's Jennifer Clymer.
Thank you all. That was fantastic. Really appreciate your time and your talent and your creativity and giving life to these wonderful words. Before we go, let's focus on Harry for another moment. What's going on next week, Harry?
Next week, we have two wonderful poets, Jim Daniels, who taught at Carnegie Mellon for many years, and he's from Detroit, and he writes a lot of working class poems. He's a fabulous poet. And also Diane Souza from the Central Coast, and she's very vibrant too. So we're going to have a wonderful reading next Tuesday. Thank you all.